Welcome to Ninerology, Faithful in the Trenches. I'm your host, Alan, and we're here to talk about what's been happening in free agency. More specifically, on the offensive side of the ball for the 49ers. The 49ers have just re-signed right guard John Feliciano to a one-year deal. What does this mean? Well, this means that the 49ers now have returned their entire starting offensive line from last year's Super Bowl run. Granted, did not end in a Super Bowl, but it brings about continuity. Now, I get it. There needs to be upgrades across the board. You have to eventually draft Trent Williams' replacement. You need to get better at that right tackle position. Now, John Feliciano ranked top 3 in run blocking last year, but you still need upgrades. You still need to look to the future. What this does allow for is for John Lynch and company to not have any excuses going into the draft. You can draft the eventual replacement, have them sit behind the starters, and then slowly start working them in. We know that Kyle Shanahan doesn't like to start rookies right from the get-go. And so what needs to happen is draft your eventual replacements on the offensive line. Draft 3, 4 offensive linemen. Get them in there. That way they can start learning from the starters, and that way they can learn Kyle's system. We know how complicated and intricate it is. But that's the first set of good news. The second is that Aaron Donald, 10-year defensive tackle for the Rams, has announced his retirement. Surprising many, a lot of people thought that he would play one more year, but he has just announced his retirement, which is great news for the 49ers offensive line. Especially because they're a divisional opponent. You face twice a year, and Aaron Donald has wreaked havoc on 49ers quarterbacks. And so this is great news for the 49ers. You've re-signed John Feliciano, bring back that starting offensive line. But again, the key here is to get better. You need to upgrade because you're either getting better or getting worse. You never stay the same. Another pickup, the 49ers have signed linebacker Devondre Campbell. Which wasn't their top pick. They wanted Eric Hendricks, but he ended up going to the Cowboys. But Devondre Campbell, a former Pro Bowl linebacker, formerly of the Green Bay Packers, is now coming over to fill in that void from Dre Greenlaw. So a lot of big moves here. Another thing that we're seeing is potentially Stephon Diggs on the move. Now the question is, what does that mean for Brandon Aiyuk? Now, typically, the 49ers are notorious for doing their extensions after the summer's over, almost up to training camp. The thing that they want to be careful about, though, is the longer and longer they wait, the market's going to continue to be reset for wide receivers. We saw how much that Ridley got, and Ridley's 29 years old. Aiyuk is younger. And so you want to be careful because what you're going to see is potentially a Justin Jefferson trade and an extension. You're going to see a Diggs trade, potentially an extension. And all this does is drive up that cost that Brandon Aiyuk is going to be commanding. So you need to get him re-signed now. You have the space. In fact, re-signing Aiyuk saves cap space. You save about $10 million this year on the cap hit. So what are you waiting for? Get this guy under contract. Figure it out instead of having this offseason drama, and start continuing to build through special teams. Get that offensive line, turn it in the draft. You do not need any more offseason drama, 49ers. So that's all we have for right now. We'll catch you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Ninerology, Faithful in the Trenches.